Okay.
You know, it's a special art to do a talk show and do things off the phone and just say things. Then you're just saying things off the top, and it's much more. You can make a lot of mistakes that way. But if you're going to do a personal reading, it takes you're putting in a few hours to begin. At the start, you're going to put more than that because you want to go through steps and know what work with it. By the time you get your first 25 to 50 charts done, after that, you can cut it down where you might work an hour on it the night before. You know, so I mean, we all come at astrology from wherever we're coming from. You know, like we come from different places, different ways of looking at it with different expectations. But it's so exciting, it's so interesting. It'll grow naturally. Just slow down. You're trying to go so fast, and you want it all. If you got it all that fast, and you could do that all right now, I would never send anybody to you.
Okay.
You know, you just have to take the time, make it real for you.
Take the time and just go through each level one at a time.
Yeah, and have fun with it.
I get to level 5.
Yeah, you see. So like, you just start as you're learning one thing. When you're learning one thing, the good thing about astrology, when you learn something, it applies to everybody you know. Like if somebody, or like if you learn something about a Mars in a certain sign, then you check out all the people you know. When you see who's got that, you say, oh, look at that. This works for me. I wonder how it's for them. And people can have the same planet and sign, and it works differently in their specific world, but there's still a similarity that you can see. It takes time to develop that.
Okay.
You know, it's not just a mental, like a lot of people teach, like you memorize the 12 houses and throw everything in the houses, and everything that affects the houses, you can talk about that. And it's just rational explanations about what's happening. And it's a lot of it's just, it's like listen to radio having the radio on all the time. You know, or you're just getting all your understanding running from Facebook. It's too narrow. You have to slow this down to make it real. And the best way to do it, just work with your chart. Have your mums and your brothers or sisters or a few charts that you know as you work along with it, and just take your time and go at it. Enjoy it. You know, you just have to relax so you don't have to do this too fast.
Okay.
So basically, if you listen to one class a week, that's a couple of hours, and then you reflect on it and you're trying to relate to what it said and then who else has this and how this works for me. You take a few days to reflect on it. You wouldn't want to do like one a week's about the right speed.
Okay.
Because you learn from what you hear, but then it goes into your mind, into your dreams, into your emotions, and it builds up from there. You know, so like it's like lots of people are where you are coming at astrology. You're not the only person that's coming at it this way. That's anticipated, excited, and wants to get on. But it's a little more. It takes a little more time. So at first it seems, oh, geez, that's a lot of work. I'll never do all that work. That's when you're looking at it from reminding that when you start seeing this is cool, this is good. It's like you get an instrument, you can play a scale. Suddenly you think you can play the instrument, but really look at all the music you can play. How much time will it take to learn the different music? Same thing. It just takes a while. And if you relax like this, it's fun going through it. It applies to everyone. There's no need to have to speed up so fast that you think you got it before you do. You don't have to prove it. You just have to get it for yourself. Once it's yours, you'll be able to talk to everybody about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, I'm just going to take you off the talk.
Okay.
Okay,
on to the next. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. And no, Laura's not here. Oh, she said she couldn't make it. Okay. And Arjun's not here. And okay, so I'm just gonna go. There's a couple other questions. Fiona, you asked some questions comparing. One second. I don't know if you want to be put on or not. I'm going to click you on. If you want to be, if you don't want to be, talk to me, then just click it off again, and I'll know, and then I'll just let it be. You see the little where the microphone is? I'm going to click it on. I'm going to click it on right now so you can hear me. I know you didn't want to necessarily interact, so just click it back off, or tell me no, you don't want to interact, and then I'll just take it off. So you're on now. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I just get a bit nervous talking to technical stuff, so.
We don't have to talk technical. It's whatever. I don't like. There are a lot of different schools of astrology, and there's not really, for short periods of time, there's been one university. Catholic College used to be part of a university and have an accredited degree. It lasted for a year or two, then they closed it down. The Catholic College still runs, but they're not part of the university system. So most of the astrology places that give degrees and certificates or diplomas, they're not coming from inside a university, because universities don't teach it. They almost put it down, except in India and China maybe. But there it's normal and they have university degrees in it. But so every school or organization has a set of exams. They're setting their own standard and they have their sets of exams. So there's about 12 or 13, 12, maybe 15 main sets of exams around the world, maybe 12, 15 that are in English. And I know there's going to be some in German or some in Spanish. There's going to be different ones around. And the schools are all somewhat competing with each other. Right, so the RASA school, the difference with the RASA school is that we go slow. We just take one step at a time and we learn our basics solidly. We spend five levels developing an ability to work with a natal chart. And once you can do that, you can work with transit, everything else you can understand, planets and signs and houses and aspects, and it opens up, they're yours. But most people teach the natal chart and the transits all in one class, and you take one or two classes and they give you a certificate and you got it. Some levels, in the States, the two big organizations, NCGR and ISAR, they have, I think, 5 levels. But in the main difference, they put in so many extra techniques. They put in the asteroids, they put in the Chiron, they put in midpoints, they put in all these different techniques. So you got so much information, you can never sort through it all to really understand the chart. You're just making word associations. But I mean, that's how astrology has evolved. It's gone along like that. So that's one of the branches or ways that astrology works. The RASA way is a little bit different because we really, like with RASA, you're working in your own chart all the time. So by the time you finished RASA, you spend about 250 hours on your chart, on all the different layers and things happening in your chart. And that's what you'll know it. And once you know it like that, you'll be able to talk to other people at different levels very easily. But when you speed it up and you jump it all together, it becomes this, there's an expression, bullshit baffles brains, excuse the expression, but in astrology, so many people with so much information. Oh, there's this way you can add this. You can always find something new to add in to talk about. Oh my goodness, there's nothing more to talk about. That doesn't mean they understand it. They've memorized a few things to talk about. So they're good systems, the NCGR, the ISAR, the CAE. They have the good traditional American astrology way of going at things. Okay? But,
right, okay.
I'm sorry.
I just said, right, okay.
Yeah, so it's, I've taught for 50 years, like 5 nights a week for 50 years. So I've grown through teaching and grown along through teaching it. And there's other people who've done that too. It's I'm the only person who's done that. But what these classes have evolved to be, how does someone learn it? How do you get it? How do you absorb it? And I've just been working really hard the last few years to make these videos because technology's changed. And with the videos, you can, the audio file, it used to be audio files and graphics, and you had to coordinate the graphics with the audio files, and some people had trouble doing that. So now that's all together. But I mean, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be teaching. So now that I have it in videos and with the forum, it's great. You can re-listen to a video, you can go back over it. It's set up in a better, when I started, there weren't teachers. I just get books from anywhere, and I had to go through all these techniques, and eventually I edit, this one's not, okay, I'm not using this one anymore, I'm not using this one. I started using all the American, the basic, all the rulerships with the outer planets, and including the signs and stuff. And slowly as I started doing charts and meeting people, I realized these things had to follow it. They were distractions, they were taking away from how you reach people. So like every time I teach it, I grow through it and I learn something more at each level. But this, the RASA certificate, like we've got maybe, well, over 1,000 students in about 80 countries around the world. Okay, so there's only a few countries that have 100 or more students in it. So among all those people, there's a certain grassroots people who will respect the certificate or the diploma right away. But what the diploma is saying is, yes, we can verify that you've gone through these levels, that you study these things, that you know astrology, and that's it's. So you would have to, what would you call it? It's a non-accredited diploma or degree. It's the equivalent of a degree. But since the universities aren't giving degrees in this, it stands to earn some degree. Some universities may say we won't accept that for anything. Some places would. That's random. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
I think what I was asking was because of the standardizing of the astrology in Canada, was this sort of on a par with the Canadian Astrology Association for the Education?
Well, you could probably pass their exams easier than one of their students would pass our exams.
Right, okay.
And they wouldn't take the time to do the worksheets and to really make your connections to the chart. It's just a different way.
Okay, thanks.
You know, so like, it's a language, you know, so there's like, you can use it as a science, you can use it as a religion, you can use it as an art form, you can use it, it's just a language. And there's so many ways to talk in a language. And every one of them is somewhat valid, but you can't say this is the only standard for using English. Because in some places, just cussing and knowing all the swear words is the best way of using a language. Not necessarily in more civilized ways. So it depends how you want to use it. And with the exams, it's just, I mean, I was at the beginning, I was there at the beginnings of founding the CAE and that, and it really was a business that chose that name as the business. It wasn't something like suddenly the Canadian government or anything Canadian. It was just that it was a Canadian business that started it up. But there wasn't anything doing this before. It was a great name and it's grown. Now they have chapters or people teaching in each province, but they teach that way. And I tend to think you're better off to get used to one layer at a time and build it up and enjoy the astrology and think for yourself on it and get your confidence about it before you start seeing what all the different things people are doing. You know, because a lot of them are contradictory and then you can get lost in so much information, it becomes a headache. But the standards, it will be as good as any other ones that are. There's the British Association, there's an Australian Association, they all have exams. You know, and for years I taught without exams because it was just enough to learn it. Like you play music without having to write an exam. But then I realized the exams are really useful in terms of somebody testing themselves, and also they're necessary for me to know where someone else is, that you've done this, or that I can give a reference, say, yes, you got to this level, yes, you've done that. So it's, you don't have to have the degree or diploma to use the astrology well. But it's a useful thing to have. It's a nice thing. I did this, I got it. It's nice to prove it as you go along. And that's where RASA is right now.